Let's start with this. Okay. Yeah, one of the right-wrongs thing. I thought in 7 games the Brooklyn Nets were going to beat the Celtics. Yeah, I kind of whiffed on that one. But it is, I always root for star players. I told you this with Russell Wilson. I felt bad for Russell Wilson. I wanted Russell Wilson to be in a better environment with an offensive coach and better weapons. I want to see Brady with better weapons. Matt Stafford with a better franchise. I like seeing stars be great, right? If you're into music, you don't want Jay-Z to have a bad producer. You want to see the greatest of the great be elevated. And Kevin Durant trails the Celtics 3-0, and they're done. And I said it after the second game. It's over. They have to work too hard for shots. So in about 5 minutes, I'll let you hear some sound from Kevin Durant. But one of the things Kevin Durant said was, I'm thinking too much. No, time out. You didn't think enough. Kevin, you're not down 3-0 because you're thinking too much. You're down 3-0 because you didn't give it enough thought. You left Steve Kerr for Steve Nash. Steve Nash had never been an assistant coach. Steve Kerr's a championship winning coach. He was a great broadcaster, a very good GM. It's a terrible decision. You left Steph Curry, the most selfless superstar maybe in any sport ever. Dude's coming off the bench now against Denver to give Jordan Poole more minutes. For Kyrie Irving. You're not thinking too much. You didn't think enough. At one point, you and Kyrie were on a podcast and you said, we don't need coaches. In the history of sports, college and pro, there's never been a dynasty without a great coach. Not one. Look it up. Bill Walsh, Chuck Noll, Popovich, Saban, Gino Auriemma, Pat Summitt, men's sports, women's sports, college, pro. Never been a dynasty without a great coach. You and Kyrie, we'll coach. Come on, man. Listen, I am not. NBA media and NBA agents are terrified to lose access to the stars. And it is a star-driven league. Increasingly, for the record, so is the NFL. But the NFL agents would go to their clients and say, don't do that, it's idiotic. The NFL media crushes its players. What would we do if Patrick Mahomes decided, I'm going to leave Andy Reid, Brett Veach, that roster, those fans, and go to the Jets because, I got a buddy, a slot receiver. You'd be like, his agent would go, no, I'm not going to represent you. I'm not going to sign off on that move. NFL media would crush him. Fans would roll their eyes at him. In the NBA, Kevin Durant leaves the Warriors for Brooklyn, and I was the only national person that was like, what are you doing? This is a terrible move. It's an awful move. What are you doing, man? You're picking the wrong guy to go to Vegas for the weekend with. You're going to end up broke. So it's time. And by the way, the more power you give these NBA superstars, and not many have this power, but some do, the more power you give these NBA superstars. Anybody noticing a trend? Their team gets worse. I'm not a shut up and dribble guy. I like my athletes to have opinions. But for all athletes in all sports, cool it on thinking you know personnel. Remember Harden? I love Westbrook. We're guys. That's fine. That's one thing to be friends. It's another to play well together. And by the way, this isn't just for athletes. Anytime a coach in the NFL gets too much personnel power, Belichick, Pete Carroll, what happens to their drafts? Bill Belichick last year, best Patriot draft in about 7 years. Why? Belichick backed off. Let the scouts do it. Coaching's hard, playing's hard, scouting's hard, owning, I don't know if it's hard, but it's a reward for years and years of doing stuff with your capital and making a lot of money. But this stuff's all individually very difficult. I rip owners when they try to be a GM and coach. I rip owners. I rip the billionaires. Like, get out of the GM. Stop this stuff. Stop coaching. You're a billionaire. You're a business guy. You're not a GM. So I'm going to rip players like LeBron, who wanted Westbrook, and KD, who left Steph for Kyrie. What are you doing? You're not a personnel guy. You're not watching college games for the draft. So, Kevin Durant is a remarkable player, and he is now trapped. First of all, he's stuck with Ben Simmons. You can't trade that guy now. In fact, there's a story this morning. The Brooklyn Nets organization made sure Woj had this story, quote, "We're exasperated with Ben Simmons." Exasperated? The contract just started. He hasn't played yet, and you're exasperated. And Kyrie Irving, they're trapped because Kyrie's going to opt out, and they're either going to have to trade him, what I would do, or give him a max extension. $50 million a year for 5 years. I can't do that with Kyrie. I can't. So Kevin Durant, after falling behind 3-0, he had a very somber post-game press conference. I mean, he was searching for answers, and here you go.
I was just thinking too much, to be honest, this whole series, like how I'm going to approach the game, you know what I'm saying? So we got another game to play, another opportunity, and I'm looking forward to that. You got good teammates around you as well. You're trying to figure out I try to figure out how I can be the best version of myself, but and also not getting in my teammates' way, you know. Sometimes I think too much about it.
His agent did him a disservice. Patrick Mahomes' agent would have said, "Time out. You're not doing that. It's time to stop coddling." At one point, a newspaper retracted a headline because Kevin Durant in Oklahoma City was bothered by it. So, you know how many ugly articles have been written about people in America? NBA media, NBA agents, do your clients and those who seek access from these stars, do them a favor. Occasionally hold them accountable. We hold NFL stars accountable. Why can't we hold NBA stars accountable? The second Kevin Durant thought Steve Nash could do a Steve Kerr. I know they're both brilliant guys. But the idea that you can coach in the NBA without ever being an assistant for several years, there's a reason the Celtics have a really good young coach. Because he sat in the bench for years. That's the way the game works. There's a reason Jason Kidd was terrible in his first two jobs, and now he's better. Because he was on the bench for years. So this is not about thinking too much. This is about coddling, not holding people accountable, and KD now is absolutely trapped. And with that, Antoine Walker, 12 years in the NBA, joins us, and he joins us live from Chicago. 2 first-round exits, a second-round exit. Now, Kyrie, I wouldn't sign him to a long-term deal. Like, if I'm Kevin Durant and I got 3 great years left or 4, I'm not riding with him. What would you do if you were Brooklyn? How do you fix this mess?
Brooklyn, if I'm the ownership group, I'm basically starting over up top and working my way down. The GM, the head coach, they got to go. You don't trade for a marquee player like Ben Simmons and come up with 0 like this. And I actually thought, just like the rest of us, at least most of us, that they got the better of the trade. And for this guy not to play and not seeming like he doesn't want to play, somebody dropped the ball on their intel. When you trade for a guy like this, you do your research, you figure out everything about him, you call around the league, you ask his college coaches, you ask Philly, you try to find out the truth. And they didn't do their due diligence because when he first got there, they was talking about him playing in 10 days.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden this guy doesn't show up and doesn't even want to play at all. They dropped the ball with this trade. I've never seen one like this before for a young guy as young as he is and as good as he is that doesn't want to play.
Do you think he's scared, honestly?
I think he's scared of not being able to perform at the level that he needs to perform at. And what I mean by that is he has to make free throws, go to the free throw line. He has to start taking jump shots and things that he probably hasn't really worked on to improve on. He's got to do those things, and teams are going to play on that. When he plays, it'll be Hacker Ben when he comes back. They'll see if he's worked on his game. They'll make sure they'll leave him wide open, see if he's worked on his jump shot or if he's even willing to take jump shots. I don't think he's ready for that. And coming back in the playoffs would have been a huge mistake because the pressure's even higher.
Wow. You know, I was saying to Joy, you know when a defense is great in football because every yard is hard to get. Kevin Durant, I'm not sure if he's had 2 easy baskets in this series. I mean, he's got to grind for every basket. I watched Boston this regular season, and I thought, okay, they play really hard, but they're not going to shut down playoff teams like they're shutting down NBA regular season games. I don't know. I mean, I look at Boston. Can you win with 1 star and being the best defensive team easily in the league? Is that good enough to beat a Milwaukee, a Philly, a Golden State, a Phoenix?
I think they got enough. If they're healthy, if they're whole, they got enough. because Jaylen Brown is an all-star. He does a terrific job of playing off Tatum. It took them a while to figure it out, but I think they figured it out. Those guys do not get in each other's way anymore. And then the X factor to me is Marcus Smart at the point guard position. He gives them so much versatility defensively and offensively that makes them a much better team. So Robert Williams is back. He'll get his legs back up under him. Al Horford's been great. I like where the Celtics at. They're doing a terrific job. But the key ingredient that the Celtics have over most teams, Udoka was the assistant coach at Brooklyn last year. Mm-hmm. He's been around KD. He knows KD's game. So he's put together a great scheme and guard him. And we got to give Jason Tatum a lot of credit.
Yep.
That he's decided to take that. We don't see stars guarding each other much anymore in the NBA. But this guy has decided that he's going to take the challenge on and guard him and make him work and also go score 30. That's what superstars do, and he's doing that.
Surprised at all that Booker's injury and departure for the Suns have put them in peril against a very young Pelican team. Are you surprised?
I'm not surprised. I believe Phoenix is going to win this series. I didn't think they would have to go 6 or 7 games to win it. I thought it would probably be a gentleman's sweep. But I got to give New Orleans a lot of credit. As we just talked about Jason Tatum, we got to give Ingram a lot of credit. He's another star that's coming in our own eyes right now. He's becoming that star. And we talk about trades and decision-making. New Orleans made probably the best trade of any team in picking up C.J. McCollum.
Yeah.
He's been terrific for them.
Yeah.
They don't get enough credit for that. So we got to put that in perspective. But for Phoenix, it's tough because Chris Paul, I don't think, is able to go get you 30 every night. So they're missing Devin Booker scoring, and they got to do it for more of a balanced attack. And you saw that the 2 games they won, Chris was terrific offensively in scoring the basketball. And the games they lost, obviously the last game with only 4 points. So he has to be more aggressive for them to be able to get out this series, and hopefully they can get Devin Booker back.
Listen, Golden State, they got a surplus of riches. Jordan Poole's become a go-to player. Clay had a great shooting day yesterday. Curry, they can be small, and Jokic, they couldn't make stops down the stretch. Jokic, kind of his size was a factor. What do you make of the whole Steph coming off the bench thing? That just, you know what, man? A lot, that just doesn't happen. That's just not a normal thing. What do you make of it?
I'm not reading too much into it right now. If they continually do it throughout the playoffs, then obviously that'll be actually, I've never seen a guy who's top 5 in the NBA and willing to come off the bench. So, I mean, that'll be historic in itself, especially a guy that's in his prime and playing as good as Steph is playing. So I don't know if this is going to continue, but I think this is the perfect series for them to ease Steph back into the rotation, to get himself back, get his feet back under him.
Yeah.
Denver playing without 3-4 players. It's going to be. They knew they had this series won. Obviously, they could have swept yesterday, but a gentleman's sweep is still good. And they get enough. This series was good for them because they got an opportunity to bring Steph back slowly and didn't have to force it and have to play big, long minutes in this series. That they won the 2 home games handily. Obviously, the road games were pretty good, but I just think this was the perfect series. Steph is coming back to that star lineup. I can't see him. I just can't see a top 5 guy sitting out.
Yeah, but I do appreciate the fact, Antoine, that he sees that it helps the team. Like, there is some self-awareness there, right? Like, listen, Jordan's playing well. I'm not 100%. That I just like the ability that you could a coach could go to him and say, "Hey, we're playing well. What do you make?" Like, most guys wouldn't do that.
Oh, no, without question. That's what I said. We saw Carmelo Anthony didn't want to come off the bench late in his career. You saw Allen Iverson at the end didn't want to come off the bench. It's tough for guys that are, Hall of Fame players to say come off the bench. And the fact that he's doing it speaks volumes on what type of player he is. And he understands Jordan Poole, and they need to try to figure out a way to keep him. They may lose him. So he's doing everything he can. Steph wants to win and compete for championships. So he's doing whatever he can to keep guys around.
Good stuff, Antoine Walker, Fox Sports. Good seeing you, buddy.
All right.
Yeah, Golden State's fine. Scoring's not the issue with Golden State. They can get really small, and it was in Denver. Jokic is a handful, and I will say this, that it does feel a little bit to me like it's sort of the end of an era. Like like Giannis right now is the best player in the league, both ends of the floor. He can distribute, he can facilitate, he can shoot, he can defend, he can score. He's a great fourth quarter scorer, and he's healthy. Embiid's always got an injury. Giannis is always healthy. And so, there was all these years that we loved Giannis, but we'd like, yeah, but KD, I'll take KD with a minute left. I'll take LeBron. No, I'll take Giannis now. He's my MVP. I'll take Giannis as the best player in the league. And, it's interesting. Chris Middleton leaves. Giannis is like, I got this. We're good. Now, Drew Holiday played really well yesterday, but we have moved past the Kawhi, KD, LeBron, even Steph Curry. It's like, no, it's Giannis's league. He's the champ. He loses Middleton. I'm good. Because I thought that Chicago series was going to get really uncomfortable. They had blown him out back-to-back games.